A person with no forgiveness in their heart lives with an even worse punishment than death. Welcome to my dojo. This is Kung Fu Pizza Party, and I'm your host, Brandon Knight. And today we are continuing our journey to Karate Kid Legends with our review of the Karate Kid Part 2. And joining me here today for the review is a man who lived it. He was there. He was like Pee Wee Herman. He was there. He doesn't have to watch it. He was there. He's one of the priests of the geeks over at Systematic Geekology, which you can check out here on Anazao as well. Pastor Will Rose. Pastor Will, welcome to the dojo.
Oh, Brando, thanks for having me here. I've been waiting. I've been listening to your podcast for a while. I'm glad I'm finally in the dojo, and I'll just have to say that I'd be the one to fight for your honor, Brandon. I would be the one to fight for you.
For the glory of love. 2 for 2, man. 2 for 2. These movies have stellar songs in them.
I know. The soundtrack was what makes it. It is like part of the music video, MTV culture, 80s. The 80s, and the music and the images. And if you go back and watch For the Glory of Love, you'll pretty much see the entire movie except the final scene. And so you could pretty much watch the whole movie just by watching that video.
I did not know that. I'll have to go check that out for myself. Here on the show, I seek to deliver high-flying action in 30 minutes or less and serve up some wisdom one slice at a time. Pastor Will, do you feel up to it?
Oh, yeah. Let's try it. I mean, it's going to be hard because, as you said, I lived it. I was there. I was a teenager for Karate Kid, 1 and 2 and 3. And then we just rewatched, we watched all of Cobra Kai and all the way through the end and ready for the new movie that's coming up. So, yeah, even though I've taken a few classes of martial arts, but never stuck with it all the way through to like get belted and those kinds of things. But yeah, this is a big part of like my teenage childhood and the soundtracks and the backdrop and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm ready. Let's see if we can strap in and keep this to your 30-minute timetable. I'll do my best.
We'll see how we do. So it's been 2 years since the last movie. It's 1986. I was telling Will before we got going here today, this was one of the 10 highest grossing films of 1986, along with Star Trek 4, Crocodile Dundee, Top Gun, Aliens, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is also in the top 10.
Man.
Like it's a
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
It's a hell of a lineup.
That was 1986. Yes. Oh my gosh. That was a good year for movies, man. Golly. And I was telling Brandon, like, I was in my 15th year of life. I was born in 1972. So I was in my 15th year of life. And talk about like learner's permit, ready to get his license, dating, hormones raging, MTV soundtracks, all those things were, yeah, I was there. The 80s. Such a sweet nectar to the taste.
Great movie lineup. The 80s just produced so many great movies. Did you see this one in theaters? How invested were you in Karate Kid when these were coming out there in the 80s?
Super invested. Yeah, I must I saw, again, kids, this is cable TV, but we had the movies and we had HBO, and that was and the VHS rental store. So in terms of like movies you would rent and watch and not really having available at your fingertip any second you want or watch any clip you want from the internet, this was like you had to go to the movie a number of times. So I definitely saw Karate Kid 1 a number of times in the theater, and then when it came out on HBO or VHS, we would rent it and watch it. So this is a pretty big hype sequel. It's like Star Wars started that whole like hype trilogy sequel. You got it. If the first one did well, you got to do a second one. And so, yeah, I was there ready opening weekend to go see this movie, to see the sequel of what would happen next. And I love how we'll get into it, but I love how it picks up immediately right after the tournament. It's like, boom, if you want to know what happens right after the tournament, oh yeah, there you go. So we are ready. It picks right up after the first movie.
Yeah, I love that 80s trope of the sequel picks up immediately after the first one ends, because it's like almost all of the Rocky movies do that. Like the
Mm-hmm.
very like first 3 minutes is going to be whatever Rocky just got done doing in the previous movie. It's the same here with Karate Kid 2, picking up like I told Claire how it, so Claire reviewed the first one with me because she had
Yeah.
never seen it, and one
Mm-hmm.
of her big gripes was she thought the finish, the ending of the first movie, was a little rushed. It's like, boom,
It was
crane kick,
abrupt.
boom, here's your trophy, the end, right?
Yeah,
And we,
freeze frame it. Yeah, everybody's freeze framing him hold up trophy, and
yep.
you pan to the credits.
And we talked a lot in the episode about like how it should have ended, how she would have liked a little bit more fulfillment. So I told her how this one starts with Daniel in the locker room showering off, and he's like, "Hey, we got to, start talking about my new career." And Mr. Miyagi
Mm-hmm.
goes, "I already know your new career. Retirement." So I told her about that, and she's like, "Yes, that is exactly how it should have ended." She felt that that
Mm-hmm.
was a more like one more little quick rib from Mr. Miyagi. Um, but I wanted to talk before we get into like specifics, more specifics of Karate Kid 2. I want to
Sure.
talk about sequels in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sequels always have really hard time. They're always put into a difficult situation of either being the first one again, or like they say in Scream 2, it's just revved up violence for the second movie. Occasionally you have something like The Godfather 2, Terminator 2, Empire Strikes Back, where it's like genuinely better than the original. When it comes to Karate Kid Part 2, I don't think there was any chance that this movie was going to top the original. That first one is iconic 80s
Mm-hmm.
must watch film. But for me personally, I thought this movie was solid. It is a good follow up to the original. It's not the first one again, it kind of got its own story going. I thought it was a good I thought it was a good follow up to the original. What about you?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like all the tropes are there, all the things you love about these particular characters are still there, but they add more to the story because if you're like, the first one was the played into the mystery of the sensei of Mr. Miyagi, right? We knew a little about him, but there were little clues that he has a backstory, a dark past. There's a reason he's here. There's a reason he fled his homeland, and he had a love. He had some heartbreak, and you just didn't know what that was. So, the natural progression of the story is to fill in his backstory and to answer some of those stories that you were wondering about from the first one, and they answer those, and you get to see Daniel looking at him through those eyes of like, oh, I'm here for you. As you were there for me when I was going through my hard times, I'm going to be there for you with your heartbreak and reconciliation and the struggles that are there. And being in kind of a foreign land and him learning about Japanese culture and the even the backstory of like the depth of that for the martial arts themselves, the homeland of the martial arts. He's not just some like California kid trying to stand up to his bully. There's a depth there to the whole art of the martial arts. So and him going back to the homeland and for that was I just think was fantastic storytelling. And yeah, is it a cheesy 80 movies and you have the love interest and you have the music video that you can't wait to the show with the backdrop and the scenes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a solid. I think it is a solid. Now you go after this one, Karate Kid movies start going a little downhill a little bit. They start nosediving. But this was a solid sequel.
At least the third one has Terry Silver. Terry
Yeah, that's
Silver
true.
is a good bad guy. At
Yeah,
least we
yeah.
have that, and we'll talk. TJ from Systematic Geekology and Whole Church, he's going to be on to help me review that one. Trying to get
Nice.
like a whole mix of people for this. There's so many movies. Might as well try to invite as many people as we can. But yeah, I agree with you. I really like this whole, it's just switched, that's all they do. It's not, we're going to focus all on Daniel again for this movie. Daniel's important, obviously. He is the Karate Kid after all, but the storyline central focus is on filling in some of the gaps, some of the background of Mr. Miyagi, and that's really smart. This could have easily have been, all right, now Daniel is going to prepare for the follow-up tournament, and we're going to get the showdown, the rematch between him and Johnny Lawrence. That's what this movie could have easily have been, and it would have been fine. Probably would have completely derailed everything that's going to happen later on in Cobra Kai.
Right.
But yeah, I think it was a really smart move, and it's really solid. I know it got panned a little bit by critics from what I read, but also Pat Morita puts on such a good performance here.
Yeah.
Ralph Macchio is Ralph Macchio, but Pat Morita is putting on very good performances in these movies.
Yeah, I agree. And another aspect of this movie is like, it's the one thing if it's a tournament, is to get back at your bullies, is to, win the girl in your hometown and, fight that way. But another one, when you like amp up and level up, when it's like fight to the death and there's like
Yeah.
honor involved, it's like, wow, there's like life and death situations. One thing just to be like, being the kid on the outside on the margins and being bullied.
Right.
It's another, I mean, that can be life and death too in a lot of ways, but this particular movie like really amps up, like this culture is like, yeah, we're fighting to the death, and honors involved when it comes to that. And I love how it's sandwiched. We'll talk more about the movie from the beginning, what happens at the beginning, and then how they sandwich it at the end. The callback is pretty good.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and, for those of you who are listening or watching this that you've never seen Karate Kid Part 2, you're probably, if you're a Cobra Kai person, you're going to be familiar with one of the characters who gets introduced here. But basically, movie opens with like this little wrap up from the first Karate Kid movie. You get a little showdown between John Kreese and Mr. Miyagi. They're in the parking lot.
And let
Go
me
ahead.
say, that is the showdown we all wanted, right? Isn't that the fight that we wanted in the first one? Just have them two fight at some point, and they gave each other stink eyes, but they never fight. So you're like, here at the beginning, you're like, we're finally going to get the fight that we wanted: Mr. Miyagi versus Kreese, Cobra Kai versus Mr. Miyagi. But then the way he fights in that fight scene is just like, again, Mr. Miyagi is the coolest. He's the absolute coolest. He's ducking punches. His non-action, non-violence is bringing dishonor to the other, injuring the other by just slightly moving, not even throwing a punch. So I think that's pretty interesting.
And I didn't even realize this until much later on. Like, I finished the movie and I'm just kind of sitting on it, and I realized even from that very beginning, Mr. Miyagi is doing the drum movement. That's all he's doing. He's just doing the shifting.
That's so
I'm
good.
really excited.
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
really excited to talk about the drum thing. Yeah. I'm excited to talk about the drum thing when we get to it, because Crane Kit, we'll get to it when we get to the big showdown fight at the end. It fast forwards 6 months later, and we find out that Daniel and Allie have broken up, and she's now in love with a football player at UCLA. Of the entire movie, this was the one part that I did not care for. Just how quickly they write off Allie when she was. Yeah. I know season 3 of Cobra Kai is coming. Like, I know we picked this thread back up much later on, but right there in the moment, I was kind of like, oh, so like the person that this whole story was revolving around in the first movie, we're just done. We're just done. Yeah. Moving on.
It's almost like Daniel needed a new love interest overseas in another country, and he couldn't have the complication of cheating on another girlfriend while he's there. Yeah. So it's almost like there's another woman involved.
To fight for the glory of love. Just going to keep bringing that back up.
That's right. That's right.
Daniel also is frustrated because his mom is being relocated to Fresno for the summer, but they're going to come back, which is a nice little like tease that, oh, now he's going to go to Fresno and train in a different martial art with somebody else. But instead, Mr. Miyagi receives a letter from Okinawa, where he grew up. His father is near death, and he's being called back home to see his father one last time. And this is when we start to get a lot of the details filled in on Mr. Miyagi, because Daniel naturally asks, so, like, why did you leave in the first place? And it turns
Mm.
out that Mr. Miyagi, when he was, I think he says 18, so when he was a teenager, he had fallen in love with a girl in his village. She was promised to be married, that old tradition, being promised to be married to, wouldn't you know it, Mr. Miyagi's best friend, Sato. Mr. Miyagi is like, no, I am still going to marry her. Screw tradition. I'm going to do it. Sato challenges him to a fight to the death to restore his honor because he felt like Miyagi was stepping all over it. Mr. Miyagi being, he says at one point, you have to put principle before passion. So, as somebody who is very nonviolent, not a fighter, he leaves, and that's when he ends up in America. And when they end up getting to Okinawa, you find out that those two never got married. The woman, Yoki, I think it was her name,
Yep.
Yoki and Sato, they never did end up getting married. She's like an old maid now. But I did have a question for you, going back to the original movie for a moment.
Yeah.
So one
Hmm.
of like the emotional moments of the, probably the biggest emotional moment of the original movie is when you do get this glimpse into Mr. Miyagi's life when he is drunk, mourning his yearly mourning of when he finds out that when he was serving in World War II, his wife and unborn child had been killed. They had died. My question for you is, with this new edition of, and then before that there was also another girl from when he was 18, does that undermine this whole thing that happens in the first Karate Kid movie, or does that just add like an extra layer of depth to Mr. Miyagi's character? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it adds another thing. I mean, it was one of those things. Just like that was, I think in the first movie, you're wondering what his story is, why he's a loner, why he doesn't have a family, why he's really quiet and to himself, and you get a little depth there of like a past family life, and he's mourning something. He has problems too. Not just Daniel is dealing with problems in family and life is hard. You know, you don't understand. I'm a kid. You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, that we have all had experiences where we've grieved before. So, but when you get to this movie, I mean, I didn't quite remember who he was mourning or not. I just kind of assumed it was the same story. But yeah, it's different. But yeah, you're kind of like, yeah, there's even more backstory of him, you know, family, best friend, 18-year-old, you know, lost love, so might as well move on and have another family. So yeah, I didn't think about it that deeply, other than this is just a person that has mystery, but also has his own grief, his own complications, and he's no different from the rest of us. No matter where you are from around the world, we all experience love and loss and heartbreak.
Which is definitely a running theme. Love, loss, and heartbreak. That is definitely a running theme throughout this movie in
Mm-hmm.
particular. I did, at first, I was like, oh, maybe that does, well, I'll just say it. Maybe that does sweep the leg a little bit from the first movie.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, the more I was like, no, that they could have left him a very flat character. You know, it's the 80s. We're still, not depicting Asian Americans, Asian characters all that well in media. Looking at you, 16 Candles. We know what you did. Um, but
John
and
Hughes.
even still, but even still within the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi is a bit of like this walking book of proverbs, which is its own issue in of itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I do really like that they are making him a fuller character. And so
Yeah.
yeah, why not? He had a teenage romance that, ended in either I'm going to leave or going to have to fight to the death. Did you ever have to fight to the death or surf? for a girl?
Surf to
Did
the
you ever
death.
have to do?
Yeah,
Is
did
that
I
a
have a
thing?
surf competition? Like I've been in surf contests and surf competitions, but never had to like surf to the death to win a girl's hand or honor before. I definitely surfed in order to impress girls, or thought I was.
Okay.
There's added pressure of being in the water and going, "I'll bet they're watching me surf," and then I catch a good wave and I come in like, "Did you see that wave?" Like, no, what are you talking
No.
about? I was reading. I was looking somewhere
Right.
else. I was talking to my friend. I'm like, "Dang it, you didn't see that? You didn't see my wave?" But yeah, I mean, I think they probably didn't know they were going to get a sequel, so they probably just writing their story for the first one
Sure.
and probably didn't even think about like, oh, what's the continuity here? They're like, just
Right.
write another story for the sequel. Like they were like, oh, that first one was really popular and made a lot of money. Let's do a second one and do another kind of MTV video around this classic love story ballad, rock ballad. So I think that they probably weren't paying attention too hard. Similar to Luke and Leia being siblings. You just kind of
Right.
keep going.
We're just gonna keep moving. We're just gonna keep
Just
moving.
keep moving. Just keep moving.
Move along. Move along.
Move along. You're not gonna notice.
So they end up in Okinawa. Daniel is able to convince his mom. They're in Okinawa now. And Daniel does a really good job throughout this. They did really good writing of Daniel, of not just being like, I'm a stereotypical American. You have to do everything my way. Like, he genuinely is trying to learn. Like, he even has a
Yeah.
book of Okinawan history, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
really cool. At one point, they're like, hey, or Daniel's like, hey, you don't think Sato, who is like the guy who's teaching karate there now, he's like the big guy in Okinawa now, you don't think he still wants to kill you, right? Nah, that was 40 years ago. Wrong. He wants to still have a fight to the death with Mr. Miyagi. So he and his nephew, who Cobra
Mm-hmm.
Kai fans will be very familiar with, Chosen. This is when Chosen gets first introduced. Him and
Yeah.
his nephew and their cronies are just making life miserable for Mr. Miyagi, Daniel, the village that they're staying in, until Mr. Miyagi finally agrees to have this showdown. Two old men are going to go head to head, fight to the death. But a very interesting turn of events. There is
Mm.
a tropical storm that hits the village.
Yeah.
Chosen leaves his uncle for dead, only for Mr. Miyagi and Daniel to go discover no, he actually is just hurt. They save him, and then Sato turns. We get a redemption arc. One of the
Yeah.
few villains we actually get a redemption arc for here in this franchise. He seeks the forgiveness of Mr. Miyagi. And that takes me to the line I opened the show with. It
Exactly.
happens all the way there in that parking lot scene early on. But Pastor Will, to me, you can't watch this movie without seeing it through this lens of hate and bitterness destroys, love and forgiveness restores. Would you
Yeah.
say that this is like one, there's many, but one of the main overarching themes of this story?
100%. And we saw that in the opening fight with Kreese, right? Like he's mocking the no mercy part with Cobra Kai, and they're cried no mercy, and he had a chance to kill him, and kind of hunks his nose in a comic relief, and we're like, there's Mr. Miyagi, there's the guy, and Daniel's like, you could have killed him, and he's like, sure, but what's greater, is this kind of understanding of forgiveness and mercy being a part of what's really real, and the ultimate reality of what's getting fulfillment rather than the other way around. And so you see that play out in this movie of that's kind of embodied in his relationship with Santo, and he has a chance to kill him right there as he's pinned down by a fallen building from the typhoon, but instead he breaks he karate chops the wooden beam
Yeah.
and breaks it in half and saves him, and then Daniel saves the child, and then Chosen like runs away, and so he's dishonored by not helping out, and the fear takes control of him. So you show like the true nature of this particular dojo and style of teaching, style of fighting, style of karate. It's a martial art, is defense, but it teaches like this kind of moral philosophy of mercy and forgiveness and restoration, rather than just bullying people or beating people up or wielding your power against somebody else. And because, isn't Santo like an industrialist? Like he's tearing down land and killing the fishing
Mm-hmm.
industry. And you see him as us, like, he's the Elon Musk of the Okinawa. I'm just kidding. Hey, no, I'm not kidding. But he's just kind of taking control and taking a chainsaw
Yeah.
and everything. And they're like, wait, where's the honor in that? Where is taking care of your culture and your people? And so all that's being played out in this story to the, of course we're there. Daniel is having these different kind of training montages along. He's no longer a crane on a pillar, but and they like throw like a different kind of crane at him to see if he could balance and get out of the way. So there's a different kind of crane that's happening being thrown at him.
That was quite the scene.
Quite the scene. So there's different montages and training here that you're doing with the backdrop of all this. But yeah, it's a big theme of that. And I think, that's why it stands up. It stands up because these are like moral truths that are like, I think T with a capital T, they're moral absolutes here being played out in this movie. Yeah.
And we even see it, not just in the restoration of Mr. Miyagi and Sato's relationship, but like you were saying, how he had like killed the fishing industry, was tearing up the land to try and like get Miyagi to take the fight. And then there at the very end, Sato arrives and he's gonna help rebuild. He is going to help replant and put this village back together. Like it is restoration and then some for him. And you're right, these are like moral truths that hate and bitterness can only destroy. Like I don't know if there's an instance I can think of offhand where those kinds of things are used as tools properly, whereas here we see that. And I love this about this movie, taking place in the 80s, where you have Stallone and Schwarzenegger, the big buff guys who can take care of themselves. And yet here in The Karate Kid, you have like this surprising commentary on a term that didn't exist then, toxic masculinity. Like it was in the first movie and it looks different here, of just like this selfish anger, bitterness, my honor kind of thing. It is a cultural thing as well, and we have to respect that. But it is just so interesting to see a movie from that time period also that is like, nah, forgiveness and love, those are the things worth fighting for. Those are the things. Mercy is a good thing to give to other people.
It's not glory of power, glory of fear, glory of anger. It's the glory of love, Brandon. It's the glory of love.
Glory of love.
It's to the glory of love.
That's what it's all about, man.
To the glory of love.
Let's get to that final fight scene.
Let's zip line into
this
it.
fight scene is
Let's
so
just
good.
hop on a zip line and zip on into
as it is. Yeah. As cheesy as it is, was chosen zip lining in like he's Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania. Like as cheesy as that part is, like, oh my gosh, we are, because not like you said earlier. Not only is it the fight to the death, fight for honor element introduced here, but it is such good storytelling with the fact that Daniel pulls out his finisher move. He pulls out the crane kick, and Chosen easily blocks it and counters. Like it's just such small storytelling. I love it. What's your favorite fight scene in the? What's your favorite fight scene in The Karate Kid?
Yeah. I think you're right. Like I was like, oh, he's pulling out the crane. That's what won the last tournament, but easily overtaken. And you're like, well, what is he going to do now? Well, they've been building up to, the drum and this thing he's been learning the whole time in a different way. But, yeah. And again, like this is a fight with no refs. They're not on a mat. There's not going to people that are going to be jump in. The crowd's going to jump in. Like they're literally on an island. And they take the bridge away. So nobody, Mr. Miyagi, nobody's going to come and help him. He's got to do this on his own. And so, yeah, while the fight scene isn't like the most hardcore choreographed karate fight I've ever seen in a movie, the stakes are there. You hate it that like he slugs the girl. Not Daniel, but the other guy, and you're like, oh wow, like he just fall off, socked her in the face, like, but then the the crowd around them, similar to like the crowd in the tournaments pulling for him. They do the drum. He's there. He used that kind of defensive move to get out of the way, but then beats him down. And then, if you don't mind me doing the spoiler ending, with a callback from the very beginning, when Miss Miyagi could have killed Kreese, but instead honks his nose. You have the callback where Daniel does the same. He has a chance to kill him, but chooses mercy rather than no mercy, and honks his nose in kind of a cheesy, soft laugh. Yeah, there you go. You call it from the first. We kind of saw that coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, and then it kind of ends abruptly again. I don't know how Claire feels about this, but it ends abruptly with a freeze frame.
She didn't watch this
Similar
one
to the first movie. It's an abrupt ending of just freeze frame, smiling, frozen on the screen. But yeah, I thought some of the proud dad moment with a wink, and but I yeah, I mean, some of that fight scene's not the best out of all of them, but we're there for the karate, but the love story too, man. I mean, when I was watching this as a teenager, the hormones raging. I wish I had a girlfriend. I wish somebody looked at me with those same eyes that Daniel's son's girlfriends looked at him. But it was fun. All in all, a fun, good movie.
It's a fun movie. I think still of the two, I'm building. So
yeah.
In a universe where only these two movies exist, I still think the fight in the first one when Mr. Miyagi is fighting the Cobra Kai boys in the Halloween costumes, they're all in their skeleton outfits. That's still my favorite. It's just a cool visual. None of these, well, the other fight in this second one is pretty technical, but the fights aren't very technical. They're very straightforward, throw a punch, block, throw a kick, block, with exceptions. But in that first one, when he's fighting the skeleton Cobra Kai guys, that is still my favorite.
Yeah. Isn't there a similar fight like that in this one too, where he kind of fights off some folks? It's kind of a callback to the first one. It's kind of similar. You get to see Mr. Miyagi kind of, see his skills in action. But I agree. Yeah, because that's such a surprising thing, doesn't he? Kind of in the first movie, he kind of pounces almost like a frog. Like he just kind of jumps off this building and lands off the fence, and the shadowy figure comes out of nowhere to save Daniel and pulls him back. So that was kind of like, oh yeah, here he comes. That's the guy. Yep.
And Daniel's losing consciousness, so it gets kind of blurry during it's that's a fun one. That's a fun one.
Who is this helping me? I can't see. Yeah.
I think he calls him Spider-Man in the next scene. It's like, where does Spider-Man go?
Yeah.
I really like that this whole the crane kick gets countered part. Not just because I'm the goofy martial artist who's like, the crane kick's actually not that effective, but because it is such good storytelling. You've built it up as here it is in the first movie. Here it is, the big moment, and it gets countered so easily. So now Chosen is a better fighter than Johnny Lawrence at this time, because he countered it, right? And it does put it in this what is Daniel going to do then? Well, like you said, they've been building to it this whole time. I like the drum. I think I wrote it in my notes as the drum movement, because it's presented in different ways all throughout the movie. At the beginning, and when Daniel's first learning it, it's just kind of this sidestep technique, just very defensive, just get out of the way. Just move out of the way.
Is that more like a keto, kind of a keto style of using your weight and counterweight against the other?
Yeah, it would be a little bit of Hapkido, Aikido, a little bit of even just basic boxing of just moving out of the way of your opponent. Then you have the ice block scene where Daniel uses it to break a ton of ice blocks. I've never broken an ice block. That's not something that just happens, but it looks cool on TV. That's for sure.
Sure.
And then here it's this double, he's just double clutching and just beating the tar out of Chosen to finish it up. It's an interesting, it's not a technique like the crane kick. That is what it is, Whereas this is more of how you utilize it. this motion
Yeah.
that you do. And I like that a lot. It's
Mhm.
very like, if it's like a video game, like Johnny Lawrence was one boss, he defeated him, and now he had to learn a new skill, and now he's got the new bigger boss to fight. Like it's good. I like it a lot. But as Pastor Will takes care of business there, it does look like that we are gonna be slightly over on the 30-minute mark. We're doing pretty good. We're slightly
Yeah.
over.
I'm proud of us.
So, is there anything else you would like to say about Karate Kid 2 before we start wrapping this up?
No, I again, I just reflect back on in my 15th year of life, in this watching this movie, and his love interest, this girl, is as pretty and as cute as you can be. I mean, I just remember just being smitten with this new girl.
Yeah,
I love Elizabeth Shue. I thought she was a great love interest, but man, I just remember being in the theater going, "Golly,
sure.
she is pretty." And so going back and watching the Chicago or the Peter Cetera music video to the Glory of Love, and they show the different scenes, you see the montage of the movie, and yeah, man, it's a good flow. I remember that was a big song back on the radio in the day, and I might go power lift
Oh, I'm
weights to it
sure.
tomorrow. I think I'm gonna lift weights to that movie, that song tomorrow. It's a good weightlifting
There you go.
song.
Chicago in general, like you get that
Yeah.
brass band going in the background, like that's good. I could see that being good weightlifting music, and I'm sure that gave you all the feels to watch that music video again from
It did.
15-year-old.
Hits me all in the feels. Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. So for listeners who are dropping in for the very first time, I promise to deliver episodes in 30 minutes or less. When that does not happen, I have to take on a challenge to repay my debt and restore my honor, much like what happened in this movie.
Yeah.
So Pastor Will, you're going to help me with this. It's very simple. This is all you have to do. You ready? I need you to give me a number between 1 and 20. A whole number.
Okay. 15.
15. Okay. So this is what I'm going to do, and I'll post a reel as the receipt for all of this. I'm going to go on Tubi. I'm going to go to their martial art movie section. I'm going to scroll to the 15th movie, and whatever it is, I'm going to watch it and record an episode of it. So be on the lookout for the reel to confirm the movie. If it's one I've already done, I reserve the right to go to the left or right of it. Go up or down.
This is the thing. So I picked 15 because that was my 15th year of life. If you've already seen that one, round down to 14 because I was literally 14 years old at the time. So do that.
Gotcha.
There you go.
There we go. So 15, if it happens to be one I've already done here, we'll do 14 instead. So yeah, be looking for that reel to find out what the movie is. And also, and be looking for that drop when it happens. So thank you, Pastor Will, for taking time to reminisce and review this movie with me. And
super fun.
if any of you haven't listened to Systematic Geekology yet, I'll drop a link for it in the description of this episode. Thank you all for listening. If you haven't yet already, please rate and review Kung Fu Pizza Party wherever you get your podcasts. Pass this episode along to a friend. Follow the show on Instagram at Kung Fu Pizza Party, on Letterboxd, KungFuPizzaPrty, where you can get a little taste of what the review is going to be like before the episode comes out. So if you are already following the show on Letterboxd, you already would have known that I thought this was a solid sequel, because that was the review I wrote.
Nice.
Insider info. Again, thank you all for listening. This has been Kung Fu Pizza Party, where I have attempted to deliver high-flying action in 30 minutes or less and served up some wisdom one slice at a time.